We are on a voyage into history, following in the wake of Captain James Cook. 56 of us crammed into an 18th century sailing ship. We've been at sea now for 5 weeks, and it's been tough. We've been battered by the sheer physical demand on our bodies. But it has also taken a great emotional toll. Right now, everyone is missing home, missing family, missing friends.
I just think you think of your loved ones, really. I don't think you can not think of them. And,
it's quite hard because you've got so much time to think, and your whole life runs through your mind, all about boyfriends and you know, everything.
Yeah, you've definitely got a lot of time to sort of think and reminisce.
That's the wife and the kids. Don't laugh. He's won, and he's going to prop for England. And so that's my daughter Georgia. She probably will prop for England. That's my wife, who I think she already has prop for England, but I'm not sure.
I think everyone misses their family. I certainly miss mine. It's the hardest moment I've had since you just asked me that question, but I miss my kids.
We are all of us missing home in some way or another. And after nearly 6 weeks of salt meat, ship's biscuits and porridge, all of which is now running very low, we are yearning for fresh food.
Whoa, but you can see colour on them now. Can you see, Tanya? Under that sail?
Something major is going on over there.
It's a vast school of dolphin on a feeding frenzy, probably after tuna. We want what the dolphin are after. The 21st century motor launch is the only way we're going to catch up with the dolphins. Desperate times, desperate measures. We are now right in the middle of the Timor Sea, having set sail from Cairns in northeast Australia 36 days ago. We're heading for Jakarta in Indonesia, a total distance of 3,500 miles. We are following in the wake of Captain James Cook, the great explorer who discovered the east coast of Australia in 1770. When Cook reached where we are now, he'd been away from home not 5 weeks, but 2 years, voyaging into largely uncharted waters, and constantly facing the prospect of shipwreck. Indeed, the Admiralty back in England believed that his ship, the Endeavour, had been lost with all hands.
Straight on the bow, straight on the bow.
Hey, you want to get the lines out early.
Right, this one's first.
And if we don't catch anything now, our reputations as fishermen are going to be fucked.
Damn, look at that, Jesus.
The dolphins outswam us, and so too their prey. We returned to the ship with nothing except frustration.
And the captain was nice enough to say, get to it. After I guaranteed him 98% that we catch one, I'm going to have to eat a lot of crow.
Not crow, but salted pork yet again. Although there's not much actual meat left anymore, most of it is now just fat and gristle.
They could have asked one of us to do it.
You just set this stew up, turn it on, and it cooks itself.
It's just fatty, isn't it? It's not very appetizing. And we've got this to look forward to cold this evening. It's just going to be lava.
It'll be all congealed.
The only fresh meat that the sailors were really had access to on cook ships were rats, fresh rats. They used to catch them, feed them on biscuits and cheese, so they sort of cleanse them out, I guess, and then kill them, grill them, and eat them. And roast rat was good, and apparently it tasted like rabbit. But it's not on my menu, no way. If it was, it'd be someone else cooking.
Of course, there is some fresh meat aboard. Our egg providers.
Chickens, they're not going to be around much longer. We're going to get rid of them, but it's going to be a secret. So, yeah.
People are going to be upset.
I think some people might be, so we'll just do it quietly, without ceremony, one morning very early before people are up.
They're saying, eat me, eat me. I can almost taste the curry now.
Now, we've not been away long enough to get scurvy, the illness brought on by vitamin C deficiency that plagued Cook and his men at this stage in their voyage.
The basic symptom of scurvy is the breakdown of the cell structure of the body. One of the things that was always noted in extreme cases of scurvy was that old wounds would begin to open, scar tissue would disintegrate, and old bone fractures would unknit. Men having to cut off the excess flesh on their gums with their knives, and that it didn't hurt because the flesh was in effect dead. Scurvy was also a mental condition called scorbutic nostalgia, which consisted of people having dreams. It usually start with dreams, very intense, vivid dreams of home, of land, of green fields, of running water, and sometimes of food. And that what would happen when the victim woke up and discovered that they were still at sea, eating a salt diet, was that they would start crying uncontrollably. Even strong, hard-bitten seamen, crying hopelessly for what they longed for and couldn't have.
Joseph Banks, the principal botanist on board the original Endeavour, was always aware of the emotional state of those around him.
The greatest part of our company are now pretty far gone with the longing for home, which the physicians have gone so far as to esteem a disease under the name of nostalgia. Indeed, I find hardly anybody on the ship clear of its effects.
Nostalgia, longing, dreaming.
I had a vivid dream the other night that I was like in a real bathtub, taking a real bath with hot water and bubbles and all that.
I was in a supermarket and I was filling up my trolley, really, really pleased that I could afford all this amazing food. There's chocolate bars and cakes, everything was going in.
So I'm in some sort of hotel or something with one of my friends. We were really gorging ourselves on the buffet. It seems to be laid out for no good reasons, no one else there.
There's nothing but pleasure. Soft sheets.
Oh, this is the clean bed one.
Pillows. Chocolates on the pillow. Basket of fruit. It was a lovely dream.
But significantly, our dreams are not all about food.
The ship was overtaken by some kind of terrorists or something. I don't really know who they were, but they pretty much decided they were going to kill all the Americans. So, being the heroic type that I am, I told them I was Canadian. And Joel, who is Canadian, protested very loudly that I was, in fact, not Canadian. And so they shot him. And that was the end of that dream. You may have been hoping for thoughts of chocolate cake, but no luck. Just carnage.
Cyril jests, but it seems likely his dream was prompted by the 11th of September attacks. Something we heard about just 2 weeks ago, far from anywhere. A moment now imprinted on all our minds. So, we have longings, we have nostalgia. For sailors, perhaps a fear of dying far away from home. But not as a result of scurvy, as with Cook's men.
That's right, but I think you have to see scurvy as a kind of magnifying glass, which brings into distinctness and prominence the sorts of feelings, feelings particularly of loss, that afflict anybody on a ship if they're away from the real world for too long. So that scurvy simply underlines it, it emphasises it, ornaments it. But yeah, anybody on a ship, as long as we've been on a ship, cut off from news, cut off from the kinds of diets that people are used to, are going to start longing for things that they don't have here.
It's strange, but many of us have actually started pretending we've got the very things that we miss.
Okie dokie. So what do you want to do first then, like good buddy? Do you want to paint the front of the cannon and then scrub the deck, or scrub the deck and then paint the front of the cannon? Now we're talking executive decisions here. And we have to Riggers black this ring. Cup of tea? Cup of tea. It's not easy. Not easy. Cup of tea. This is a great Royal Navy tradition that these gentlemen have been fine enough to expose me to, which is that you don't actually do anything. You just talk about stuff and then you go have a cup of tea. Don't make it too strong. I don't like it too strong.
Luckily enough, it's not that strong.
Oh, that's ideal.
There you go, mate.
That's a tin of milk.
Cup of tea.
Thank you very much. Cheers. Ooh, too much sugar.
Cup of tea, sir?
Thank you, Mickey. You can see Mickey's a bit weak in the tea department, but we have a ration to uphold. Thanks, Mick. Best cup of tea I've ever had.
That's it. Pull it. Take it off.
Get your hands ready. One more climber. One last one.
Being on a ship like this for so long may well have given us feelings of nostalgia. But such feelings are temporarily dispelled when the wind blows up and we scale the masts to wrestle the massive sails. On Cook's ship, those who worked at height were the ones with real status. They spent much of their time on the shrouds and yardarms and were actually called top men, unlike those who worked on the deck, known as the wasters. For us, working at height, 130 feet above a rolling ocean, has become a matter of some considerable personal pride.
6 weeks ago, we all sort of hung back, hoping they wouldn't select us to come up here, and we just charged up here, because we've got really used to it now. You feel safe up here. We know what we're doing. Well, it looks like we know what we're doing anyway.
It is one of the best places on board. Because coming up aloft, it hasn't really challenged us, but people like Sharon, who I've got like a lot of respect for conquering our fears, where she's been terrified of heights at the start, and now she's up here jumping around the same as me.
Certainly going up to Gallant. I certainly couldn't go up if it wasn't for these guys who have been really supportive and sort of encouraged me all the way, which is brilliant.
Okay, keep your arms nice and extra.
But not everybody feels comfortable on the rigging.
Almost there.
JB is still trying to conquer a lifelong fear of heights.
Okay. Almost there. There we go.
The face of fear.
Everybody is willing him up to the first yardarm of the mainmast. At about 40 feet high, it's the lowest of the yardarms. But for JB, this is a huge challenge.
Go on, JB.
The highest he's got up there.
Doing really well, JB.
Just enough room for your left foot along the side.
Okay, okay.
If you want to do that, I would leave that on there right
Really?
now.
Okay.
Yes.
Do you like that? All right, go in there. All right, as soon as you can. Back to your D ring. Just on your right hip there. Yeah, I didn't mean to look down though.
Honestly, it's fine. It's fine. Look, you've only got that.
Okay, when you get that bolt rope from Phil, tuck it on top of the yard under your tummy, pinch it in there with your tummy.
So you've always been afraid of heights, JB?
Terrible fear of heights all my life. I've never done anything like this, obviously, because of my fear of heights.
This is a real accomplishment.
Yeah, this is big. For me, this is huge for me. I'm very proud. And these guys are proud of me too, so I'm mad. This is my watch, so I'm relieved.
But JB is only a third of the way up. He's already wondering whether on another day he might be able to go even higher. To make Jakarta, we're using full sail day and night. Like Cook, we run a 3-watch system. That's 4 hours on actual sailing duty and 8 hours off. But that's to do cleaning, maintenance and sleep. People are woken for duty by their watch leader, and right now, Christian is waking the foremast watch. But because tonight the wind is light, he's going to split the watch in half, each doing just 2 hours duty, so at least some are going to get a lie-in.
That is what we call a fuck up. Yeah, I woke up half of my A's and half of my B's. It was like a mad panic because I was late.
You woke Mickey by mistake?
I did wake Mickey by mistake, and I forgot to wake up Claire, and I forgot to wake up Vanessa. It's right, he'll be fine. I get to wake him up again in 2 hours, and he'll probably enjoy that a lot.
2 6 2 6 2 6 2 6.
Tea first thing in the morning.
You don't like this one, Mickey?
No, because you start at 4 o'clock in the morning, you finish at 8 o'clock at night, so it's a long day. Horrible. 16-hour day.
It didn't help you being woken 2 hours early?
Oh, no, it didn't. But I had that feeling of, when I found out I was 2 hours, I was like, yes, I've got another 2 hours in bed before I have to get up. Yes, thank you. So it was kind of like a bittersweet experience. It happens to me a lot sometimes. Right, give me watch.
Doogie, it's time for us to eat. We're hungry. I can't work without my porridge.
Morning, Tom.
Morning, Caroline.
How are you?
I'm raring to go.
You look like you are, darling. You really look like you are. There you go, darling. You're welcome.
Hot porridge in the tropics makes you sweat, but it fills the belly. And most of us are eating 5 or 6 bowls at one sitting. Mixed with sugar and cocoa, it gives us the energy we need, and it's still a long way to Jakarta.
Yeah, let's go. Hold your missing console. Phil, taken into gallant sheet, port side. Jenny, you take the other clue, please, from Phil.
Suddenly, we notice strange streaks of a yellow-brown substance in the sea, stretching for miles. Our first impression is that it's some sort of pollution. An oil slick, perhaps?
We were alarmed to see layers of a brownish colour extending themselves upon the sea. Some a mile or more long, swimming immediately upon the surface of the water or not many inches under it.
Actually, there's a really good patch going past right now, so see if I can get some in our washing up bucket here. Banks managed to get some. I think he went out in a boat and got some, and he never really did conclude what they were.
Tom, our botanist, is excited that we've stumbled upon an unexpected link with the original Endeavour, particularly the energetic, workaholic botanist, Joseph Banks. Of the 30,000 plant specimens he would collect on the voyage, 1,400 were completely unknown to science, and on his return were to make his reputation as the country's foremost botanist. Even now, out in the wide open sea, he did not stop collecting and analysing.
To which of the three kingdoms of nature this substance belongs, I am totally ignorant. The seamen are now convinced that it is not, as they thought, the spawn of fish. They have begun to call it sea sawdust, a name not ill-adapted to its appearance.
We know it's an algae. It does shine up like sawdust when the sun shines on it. Yeah, this is definitely, it's multi, it's like as though my fingers are together like that. It's like lots of tubes. And so it's a plant, it's definitely a plant. And it's an algae, and the proper name for it is Trichodesmium scorpioides is the proper name, but everyone calls it Banks's sawdust now. Apparently it's a sign of good weather. It means you're going to get good weather if you see it. Banks never missed an opportunity, whatever he was doing, wherever he was, right through his life. You know, any tiny sort of phenomena, anything that he didn't understand, he always wanted to find out. And if you think, they were on their way home now, as far as they were concerned. They were feeling, you know, homesick. They just wanted to get back. But still, Banks every single day was out there trying to figure out what was out there. He was ever inquisitive. He just wanted to know how everything lived, how it worked.
Indeed, I have pretty constant employment for my mind, which I believe to be the best, if not the only remedy for the disease of nostalgia.
Starboard clue home, take out the slack and delay.
And as we find too, when we are busy, there is little time to think about what we're missing.
Come on, all the way.
And today, we are busy, preparing for an old Royal Navy tradition designed not only to raise flagging spirits, but also to keep men sharp during a long voyage. It's called the line race. It involves learning the names of all 140 ropes on the ship and where they are. But there is a twist.
Usually, every time it happens, we have to get the band-aids out or the plasters or plaster casts.
Oh, it's pretty competitive.
It's very competitive.
Claire, the doctor, is taking no chances with the line race.
What stitch would you use for the deep sutures?
Absorbable.
She reckons she's going to be busy and needs backup.
The reason I'm sewing up pork is because I'm normally the ship's medical officer, and while Claire's on this voyage, she's giving me some very needed and welcome instruction, and I'm learning suturing now. Something that I need quite a lot on the ship because most of the riggers, about the only thing they use their knives for is to cut themselves with. It's not true. It is true.
Okay, guys, the line race. You've all been studying it hard, I hope. Biting, kicking, scratching is all allowed. Okay?
The watchers all want to win, so we don't usually get away with, you know, a couple of concussions, mop the blood off the deck.
We have all your guys number ones.
Number one. Which side?
Right here.
Oh man, I have to compete with you.
Starboard side, main course tack. Go.
Mario, go back.
Half of the main of the foremast. All right, fist fight.
Main staysail halyard.
Walk around like that.
Main course bowling. Main topsail rolling tackle. Sprit topsail lift. Go back in! Port side. 4-course sheet.
Okay, hang on, Ivan. Take a seat, Ivan. Carol, can you have a look at Ivan's foot, please?
What do you want to?
Anyway, just sit there.
Okay, there's a bit of work there for you.
I believe that might be mine. Close, it's got to be my first stitching, surely.
And mainmast way out there in the lead with 44 points.
Well done.
It's actually a massage table, so if you're really lucky...
Yeah. Get John down to do some
get the other
shots, so-
side done.
You can get the other side done. So a rough clean.
Yeah. Make sure that you've got gloves and stuff to hand.
I will put them straight.
And that your local anaesthetic is all ready to rock.
We're going to do that first up, are we?
Yeah.
Ivan is now obviously relieved of his watch duties. But maybe he's got the best deal. For the rest of us, it's time for the dreaded captain's rounds, a Royal Navy institution. The captain inspects every nook and cranny for dirt, and usually finds it.
Bunch of shit and corruption down here. Bunch of rubbish down here.
Pull back. Just check you're not in a blood vessel. Pull back first. That's good. And now inject. You're right there, Ivan.
You're all right, Angel.
You're doing really well.
I know it's sore, Poppet. I'm sorry. OK, here we go, sweetie. Another sharp stab. Is it beginning to numb up?
Not yet.
Jesus Christ, look at this lot. What's all this? On the steps. Okay, feeble troop up and down, just chuck them out. Underneath too, it's even worse underneath. Right up!
I've got to say, this is my first live stitching job, and it's in a really awkward place. So, cheers, Ivan.
It's all right.
If I can do this, I should be able to do anything.
Who cleaned under here? Nobody. Underneath here, Trevor. Look at this lot. Jesus H. Christ. What's all that? We're eating in here, guys. It's up to you to make sure it's beautiful.
So what would have done in the 18th century without gauze, without the...
They'd have just packed it.
They'd have
packed it and
they'd have
fastened the toes together.
Actually, they would have probably poured something horrible like pitch into it or something awful, wouldn't they, Claire?
I would have thought so, yeah.
Yeah, and just then your foot would have got gangrenous and dropped off.
They must have been relatively successful by using the hot pitch because, you know, certainly what I've heard of Cook's voyage, they didn't have people losing bits of themselves and major problems with infection, and they must have knocked loads of pieces off each other.
Yeah, they need to be cleaned out a lot better than that.
I might go 2 bites together because it's
Yeah,
so
you'll get
close
this
together.
That's good.
Now, what about the other
Can
side?
I just pull that
Yeah?
one tight for you? Sorry,
Yeah,
sweetie.
sorry, darling. Oh yeah, I can see where that knot's not a knot.
Okay, guys, I'm not just trying to be a pain in the arse. Just trying to get the place clean, all right? There's a lot of people living here. We're all eating. We're all sleeping. Hygiene is very important. So this is one of the most important places on the ship. Table scrub, all the bits, all the crap in the corners slowly comes up. But it ain't good enough.
If that's your first time...
First time on a human, a live human.
Human, I'm not too sure about
Dead pig? I'm good at.
It's not very often you have to do the inside stitches. Normally you just do the outside. But the inside went in nicely. The outside looks great. You'll live to fight another day.
Given the order for the execution. I feel a bit bad about that, but it had to happen. The boys are up, seeing to the chickens now, and I'm lighting the fire. So by the time the fire's hot, the chicken should be ready for the pot.
Because a few people might get upset, we've got to just sort of do it in the morning without too many people knowing about it.
I did tell people that, you know, sometime next week you're going to wake up and the chickens won't be there in their coop. So people were sort of prepared, but didn't really know when or how. People aren't inured to that sort of thing anymore. Death doesn't happen in the home.
Got slight mixed emotions about the chickens. I was vegetarian until I came on the ship. I'd not eaten meat or fish for 8 years, but I've eaten quite a lot of meat on board, and I know that I'll eat the chickens, so it made me feel quite sick, and I really disliked it. I can't say too much because I know I'll tuck into them for dinner.
They're old friends. I couldn't see them die. I did actually kill some chickens once, and I felt disgusted with myself. So I didn't really want to be around when they got their quietus. I'll eat them though.
Just imagine them with bacon across their back.
We might be voyaging in search of history, but as we keep finding, especially since September the 11th, we can never really escape the here and now.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I have listened to 2.5 radio stations today. BBC, Australian News, and a very garbled Voice of America, because we can't get in this part of the world. There are 1 or 2 demonstrations around the world, obviously, it's bound to happen. And one of the repercussions is that we have been advised that it may not be prudent to go to Jakarta. So we will be going to another place, which at the present time is politically safe. There is a different ambiance of that area. Nobody will like it very much. It's a terrible place called Bali.
Even though we have, for all this time, been following Cook's route as faithfully as possible, the present, not the past, has determined our ultimate destination. We change course to Bali.
Bali, eh? You know, this morning I was talking about frustration. Gone. Bali.
That's pretty cool.
No more than 2 days away from Bali, JB makes a decision.
People on the topsail and people on the T-gallant.
JB's first obstacle is the futtocks, a nasty overhang up to what is called the fighting top.
Heading up the upper shrouds now.
The footholds and handholds get fewer here, and the wind takes more of a hold.
Foothold's got a little narrow there.
Yeah,
once you're on there, you're winning.
JB is faltering. He's becoming more aware of the role of the ship and the swaying of the masts.
Look, he's not moving much.
Has he got his foot in that foot rug?
Is he equipped on anywhere?
mast shrouds, and then he's going to go up the cabin shrouds. He's got to shimmy up those cabin shrouds, hasn't he? Come on, JB!
JB is approaching the top of the mainmast, 130 feet above the deck. There are no footholds here, only vertical ropes to pull up on. JB makes one last, final effort. Go on, JB. Go on, mate. You're nearly there. One more step and you're there. You're there!
Fantastic. Hey, man. Hey. You're on top of the world. Fantastic.
Yay! All right!
You and I have been discussing this for 6 weeks. So at some point, I had to get up here before returning back to the States. Woke up this morning, decided today was the day to make it happen. So at least I'll be able to enjoy it for the next couple of days before we arrive in Bali. So I appreciate that. And I appreciate the support of everyone down below on the deck. That's fantastic.
JB has become a top man, albeit a reluctant one. We celebrate by firing a cannon, loaded with a real cannonball.
Respect.
Hey, stand by for cannon! Fire in the hole!
This is a result of our chicken farming. This is a special dinner. It's our last supper tonight. We've got coq au vin. Nice chicken.
Smells good. By golly, washing good.
You've got no qualms about eating Sophie Lucy?
Not at all.
It's good. We don't know if anything in our whole lives, maybe except a little bit, has ever tasted this good. We're just speechless. We're literally sitting here going, oh.
To a fantastic voyage.
Fantastic voyage.
Cheers.
Here, here. Good friends.
If the wind stays strong, we should arrive in Bali today and return, as we've been ordered, to a wounded world.
Left your calls, lines down to 110.
But unlike us, Cook was master of his own destiny. Nobody to divert his purpose, whatever obstacles and dangers lay in his way.
Was it not for the pleasure which naturally results to a man from being the first discoverer? Even was it nothing more than sands and shoals? This service would be insupportable, especially in far distant parts like this, short of provisions and almost every other necessary.
This huge international crisis has made more clear to me what distinctions Cook was drawing between the world outside, the world that he refers to as the world, and I think he opted for this world of the ship as being much more understandable and much more reliable. Now, I used to sympathize with Cook, but now I actually feel anti-Cook. I feel that he was defending a world that I couldn't go on living in forever. But I think he could, you know. I think the reason Cook went back and back to the Pacific was because that world always exerted more attraction on him than the other one, than the world at large. I imagine myself as an ordinary AB, you know, an ordinary seaman. And what would I think? I mean, as Cook, you know, decides to spend another couple of months exploring the Australian coast, I'd think, well, you know, is this in my interest? You know, Cook is the one who's going to get the gloire from it, not me, you know. So that agitation on behalf of the ordinary individual who is caught inside that little world that somebody else is idealizing, I think is a frustration that I now begin to understand.
For me, at this time, to quit the southern Pacific Ocean with a good ship expressly sent out on discoveries would be to betray not only a want of perseverance, but judgment.
That's land, isn't it? Can you see it?
What can you see?
Land.
that you can just see. No, 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 no. I'm not going to be mistaken. That you can see land. Look. Yeah, definitely land. Yeah, it must be Bali.
As we see our destination on the horizon, it seems incredible that just 6 weeks ago we saw the ship for the first time off the Australian coast.
There it is.
It's amazing. See the ship? In a way, I feel really, really sad. Like, this is the existence that I've come to know and you know, live the past 6 weeks. Like, this is my home. You know, all of these people are, you know, the people I live with and work with. It's definitely like the end of an era.
Welcome to Endeavour.
That's it. We've got to work as a team. We really have to throw away 21st century individualism, and we have to acquire the collective benefit of the whole.
I'll remember this for the rest of my life, and I'll always be telling stories about this trip and what we accomplished on the boat. But I think, yeah, I think I'm ready to go back to my life now, to go back to how it was.
Yeah, I missed sailing the ship and missed the excitement of seeing the places we've been. I think I'll get flashbacks of the kind of revelry of the ship community.
You get down to the very simple pleasures of life, like eating a sweet orange, you know, and you stop and you savor the orange. And I mean, that's an element that, you know, about getting back to basics. It's going to give everybody a bit of an appreciation for what, you know, some of the smaller things in life, and with any luck, I'll carry that back to the wonderful city of Los Angeles. Oh, he's crawling around. And be able to keep that in mind when I'm, you know, planning to kill somebody for cutting me off in traffic.
Let's away. 8 problems!
Yeah, it's strange that the last 5 weeks, everyone seems to come together. We're working together. It was a complete bunch of strangers when we all met in Cairns. Seems that long ago, I can't remember a time when I wasn't on this ship. I've made friends here from all over the world. We're not strangers anymore, we're all friends. We're all shipmates. We all belong to the crew of the Endeavour.
232 years ago to the month, the original crew of the Endeavour, like us, approached Indonesia. Not Bali, but Batavia, today's Jakarta. Nostalgia had diminished, spirits and health were high.
As we arrived in Batavia, our people might truly be called rosy and plump, for we had not a sick man among us.
Upon our arrival here, I had not one man upon the sick list. Few had any complaints occasioned by a long continuance at sea.
We step ashore and walk from the 18th century to the 21st. We are back in our world. Familiar, comfortable, and air-conditioned. But our experience of Indonesia is dramatically different to that of Cook's. His healthy, invigorated crew were immediately struck down by malaria and dysentery from contaminated water. Diseases of the land, not the sea.
We arrived at Batavia all in good health and high spirits, thinking all our hardships at an end. But Providence thought proper to order it otherwise. we contracted sicknesses which in Batavia, and thence on our passage to the Cape of Good Hope, carried away 30 of my people, who died of the bloody flux. This fatal disorder reigned in the ship with such obstinacy that medicines, howsoever skillfully administered, had not the least effect.
One-third of the crew was to perish before the Endeavour arrived back in England some 7 months later. This was the tragic price of success. Cook had been away 3 years, exploring a greater expanse of the South Seas than any previous voyager. He had entered the unknown, discovered new lands, and made groundbreaking scientific discoveries, on one of the most daring voyages of exploration ever undertaken.
In justice to the officers and the whole crew, I must say they have gone through the fatigues and dangers of the whole voyage with that cheerfulness and alertness that will always do honour to British seamen.